Today's edition of 5-Minute History will cover the world's first nuclear test, known as the Trinity test. The Trinity test, which occurred as part of the Manhattan Project, was the first attempt from the United States to create a nuclear device, and was put forth in 1941, being put into action due to Germany's development of the same weapon, classing as the nation's highest priority security threat almost overnight. The project consumed many world-renowned physicists and scientists, with the U.S. spending over $2 billion, equivalent to $24 billion today, and just over 5 years on the project. At its peak, the project employed over 130,000 employees, most of whom lived on-site in Hanford, Los Alamos, and Oak Ridge. The project was run by General Leslie R. Groves, who was responsible for selecting Oppenheimer to run the project at Los Alamos. Despite having over 130,000 employees, there are few that have their names written in history, with the likes of J. Robert Oppenheimer, an American physicist who directed the project at Los Alamos and gathered many important scientists and physicists. He was also known as the father of the atomic bomb. And Enrico Fermi, an Italian who developed and created the first nuclear reactor, or the likes of Hans Berth, a German-American who contributed to the theoretical aspects of the project and would later go on to win the Nobel Prize in nuclear synthesis. However, not all employees were working with the U.S., some even against them, with the likes of Klaus Fuchs, who supplied the Soviets with nuclear information based on what they achieved during the Manhattan Project shortly after the war. The Manhattan Project required the knowledge of the world's most brilliant workers, rounding up scientists and physicists, including their families, from anywhere they could. The most notable of these workers, as previously mentioned, was J. Robert Oppenheimer, who was the primary brain behind the organization and was brilliant, not only with how he was able to convince so many important people to work on the project, but his achievements he accomplished himself, such as presenting a lecture as part of the New York Mineralogical Club at the age of 12, or graduating from Harvard with a degree in chemistry in just 3 years, giving some idea why he was chosen to run the project. The project, however, was not entirely truthful, as many workers did not know what they were working towards, such as the Coltrane girls, who amassed a force of nearly 10,000, were employed to separate uranium, were not given any information onto what they were working towards. However, it was this uranium that became the fuel for Little Boy, the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, with one worker remarking after the dropping of the bomb, quote, "I didn't much like the idea that I had part in it, but you know, war is war. Ain't nothing you can do about it but try to stop it. I still don't like the idea, you know. But you've got to do it. Somebody does." The Trinity test itself was the first plutonium implosion device by the United States, taking place 210 miles outside of Los Alamos on the testing plains of Almagrado bombing range, known as the Journey of Death. On July 13th, the device was assembled and poised nearly 100 feet in the air 2 days later. The device was filled with 6 kilograms of plutonium and was detonated only a day later on July 16th, 1945, releasing 18.6 kilotons of power, instantly vaporizing the steel tower which held it and instantly melting the nearby sand into glass named Trinitite. Observers of the blast were located within one of 3 bunkers on the site or at the base camp. Following the shockwave and flash of light, a mushroom cloud extended 40,000 feet from the base of the explosion. A successful test signaling that the world as they knew it had now entered the nuclear age.
The flash was later calculated to be brighter than 1,000 suns. Miles away, a young girl, blind from birth, saw the flash. Men at the site felt the heat of a desert sun.
Following the test, on July 15th, workers and witnesses had much to say. It is also during this time that Oppenheimer made his famous remark.
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
And amongst it, many other quotes, such as, quote, "I am sure that at the end of the world, in the last millisecond of Earth's existence, the last human will see what we saw." And another, quote, "No one who saw it could forget it. A foul and awesome display. Kenneth Bainbridge." Or from General Thomas Farrell, quote, "Words are inadequate tools for the job of acquainting those not present with the physical, mental, and psychological effects." Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay aware for new history videos.